So this is our recording studio. It's down in the basement in our recreation room. You can see a number of pieces of equipment that we use for both mixing choir recordings as well as this is our practice area for Highway 49. So let's describe a few of the things here. The mixer is this little piece of equipment down here. It is where we physically connect all of the other things together. It's sort of the central connecting point. So microphones plug into here, the keyboard plugs into here. When Highway 49 is here, the guitars plug in as well. And importantly, the computer connects to the mixer. The computer connects both directions. I can play things from the computer into the mixer, which then go out to speakers or headphones, or I can take what everybody else is doing, microphones, people singing into microphones, keyboard, etc., the guitars, and send those all to the computer to be recorded. So now the mixer itself does support mixing, but I can also mix on the computer. And when I'm recording in the studio, it's often easier to do the recordings and mixing on the computer. When you are when we are out performing for Highway 49, we can also mix and record without a computer using just the mixer. So this is the microphone that we use to record with. It's a very nice microphone that my daughter Michelle got me for Christmas this year. It picks up sound very well and produces, a realistic representation of that sound. And like I said, the microphone is connected directly to the mixer, which then goes into the computer where the audio is recorded. In front of the microphone is this little mesh circle called a pop filter. It's an inexpensive mechanism for filtering high-speed noises, wind that comes in from your singing into the microphone. This is typically caused when you sing words that start with P, and that's why it's called a pop filter, or other percussive sounds. Those sounds typically produce a spike in the signal that goes into the microphone and can cause clicks in the recording if you're not careful. So this is where I sit when I do my mixing for choir, mostly using the computer, but occasionally using the keyboard to plunk out a part or something. You can see that the screen on the computer looks a little bit like the mixer, the hardware mixer, and I will talk about that in a little bit. So let's bring up the application that I use to do the mixing. It is this thing called Band Lab by Cakewalk. It is actually free, although the program has been around for decades, and I've been using it for decades. It's a very powerful digital audio workstation, or DAW, also called a DAW. The Cakewalk will come up with this, and you can see that there are some recent projects I've been working on. Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, but most interestingly for the choir, Levis 194 and Blue Hymnal 205. So I will bring up Levis 194. So the first thing I want to show you is that down here at the bottom is a representation of a mixer, much like our hardware mixer, but on the computer. And we have a track. All of these vertical boxes are different tracks, and you may see some people's names along the bottom. So track 1 corresponds to this horizontal bar up here and is labeled accompaniment. Track 2 is Sandy A, etc. Track 3, Karen, Sandy K, da-da-da. I group people together by the part that they sing. And then at the end we have a place for the overall mix. When I'm comfortable with how things sound, that's where I record the combination. And there's a place here called MIDI. MIDI is a way to capture note information, not the audio signal, but the timing of when I hit a key on the piano or on the keyboard, and how fast I hit it, how long I hold it, and things like that. I typically don't use it for doing choir stuff, but this program does allow me to store that kind of information as well. So you can see that I've expanded the accompaniment, and there's an audio signal here. This is time going from left to right. So let's start playing, and you can see this little white, or this white vertical line move from left to right as it crosses over the signal. So that's obviously the introduction. I can zoom out a little bit, and you can see that I've already got some parts. I've got a part from Sandy A, and a part from Karen, and a part from myself, where I have started to record my vocals, and Karen recorded her vocals, and Sandy did hers as well. So when we get to this point here, we're close to hearing their voices. And down below, you can see down here for each of those parts, Sandy, Karen, the accompaniment, the signals, and I have volume levels that I can move people up and down, and I can pan people left and right. So if I want more Murray, if you lead me, I cannot stray, Lord, or more Sandy, stay with thee, lead me, oh Lord, lead me. So you may be able to see some breaks in the signals. Let me open up Karen here a little bit. So you can see these little low spots. That is where there is a pause in the vocals. Okay, so when I initially get an email with somebody's audio file, I put it in a folder and then import it. When I import it, I have to guess at where to put it in the timeline because people are going to start their recording at different places relative to the accompaniment, and I have no idea exactly where somebody's going to start their recording. So for example, Sandy's might have come in like that, and so when I listen to it, so clearly Sandy's in the wrong place. So the first thing I need to do is to try to line people up, both visually and orally, listening to them. I usually zoom in a little bit to do this more precisely. So it looks like if I put her in about here, that we're getting close. So let's listen. So clearly Sandy is still a little bit ahead. So if I put her back here, so obviously we can use the visual representation to try to get close. Let's try right around there.
guide me along.
She's still a little bit ahead of everybody else.
Lead me, guide me along the way. For if you lead me, I cannot stray.
All right, so sometimes people interpret the rhythm a little differently than other people, and certainly differently than Bernadette did. So hopefully ideally, we try to map everybody up to the same rhythm so that it doesn't sound like people are coming in and out at slightly different times and making the overall mix sound kind of fuzzy. So to sharpen it up, I have an ability to look at this audio signal a little bit more precisely. So this particular tool that I'm bringing up is something called Melodyne, M-E-L-O-D-Y-N-E, and what it's going to do is it's going to take that signal and parse it, break it up into things that go against notes. It identifies specific notes and their durations and velocities, and even within a note, frequency variation, pitch variation. So if we so down along the left side you have the different notes of the scale, and we can watch as we go through this.
Lead me, guide me along the way. For if you lead me, I cannot stray.
So that's what it sounds if I solo my part, if I bring it in with everybody else.
Lead me, guide me along the way.
So I think I'm kind of lost in the mix because I brought myself way down. Let's move me up a little bit.
Lead me, guide me along the way. For if you lead me, I cannot stray.
So now, it sounds like I'm pretty good rhythmically with everybody else, but let me show you what might happen. Let's say I came in on this note too early. I can adjust that. That's first of all make it sound too early. So let's say I come in here.
Along the way, for if you lead.
So you can see that I'm coming in too early. So I bring it back and try to find where I'm supposed to come in. A little bit too late. So playing with things I can make these kind of adjustments. There's another neat little trick that I can do. Let me solo my part again.
Along the way.
You hear that wavering that's going on there. That's something called vibrato. It's probably more vibrato than I want. I'll tell you right now it is more vibrato than I want. I can adjust the vibrato so it sounds a little bit less wavering.
Along the way.
Right, so to me that sounds a little bit nicer, and I wish I had sung it that way to begin with. So I can make those kind of adjustments. I can also adjust the volume of an individual note.
Lead me
As
follows. With thee.
Make it louder or softer.
thee, with thee.
I can adjust the duration of a note. If I want to hold a note longer, just pull the end of it.
With thee, lead me, O Lord.
And finally, you may notice these different symbols here at the end of some of the notes. Those are whenever we have a sibilant, like a t or a s sound, or even a breath, an in breath, we can the program will identify those.
Me, O Lord, lead.
Now, most of the time those aren't terribly obnoxious, but even so, I can get rid of them very easily. Some people do a better job of breathing when they sing than I do.
Lead me, O Lord, lead me.
Okay. I can also adjust the pitch. For example, let's say I was a little sharp on that one. Here's what it would sound like.
Lead me, guide me.
Okay, so that may be a valid interpretation of that note, and I might just choose to leave it there. But typically, it would be better if it was a little bit less sharp. So let's try that.
Lead me, guide me along the way.
So I can make, pitch adjustments, which I try to do very judiciously because it's typically an expression of the vocalist that gives body to the piece if everything's not directly or exactly on pitch. So let's go ahead and close that out. So the other thing that I will do is I will move different parts to different sides of the stereo, left and right. So, for example, Sandy I might put over here, and Karen I might move a little bit to that direction. So it'll sound with a little bit more body. And of course, if you're not listening in stereo, you won't be able to notice the difference here. Whoops, that's not solo me.
Lead me, guide me along the way. For if you lead me, I cannot stray. Lord.
So this is sort of akin to Bernadette saying she wants different voices in different parts or in different places physically on the steps or in front of the high altar or something like that. So, that's what I do when I get a part, say from Sandy. I will highlight her and go ahead and import her thing, place it along the timeline here, and then adjust volume and pan left and right and things like that. If there's a note that's obviously out, then I think about, do I want to adjust that specific note? But mostly I just let things go. All right, I hope this has been useful for you, maybe entertaining a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.